Okay, so for the first couple problems, we're just completing a table. We're given a function, and we're given a few position values, and we're asked to figure out the terms. So if we're looking for the first term, we will plug in 1. So it would be f of 1 equals 3 times 1 plus 2, which is 5. Okay, so my first term is 5. Right? How would I find my second term? Plug in 2. 3 times 2 plus 2 should be 8. How would I find my third term? Plug in 3. So it would be 3 times 3 plus 2, which would be 11. And last, how would I find my fourth term? Plug in 4. This would be 3 times 4 plus 2, which would be 14. Now we're asked to give them in ordered pairs as well. So your first ordered pair would be 1, 5. Your second ordered pair would be 2, 8. Your third ordered pair would be 3, 11. And your fourth ordered pair would be 4, 14. And that's it. That's all you're doing for number 1 and 2. Let's go right to number 2. So how would I find my first term? Well, that would just be plugging in 1. So it would be 1/2 times 1 plus 1. Well, 1/2 times 1 is 1, and 1/2 times 1 is 1/2, and 1/2 plus 1 is 1 1/2, right? So my first term would be 1 and 1/2. How would I find my second term? That would be 1/2 times 2 plus 1. Well, 1/2 times 2 is 1, and 1 plus 1 is 2. How would I find my third term? That would be 1/2 times 3 plus 1. Well, 1/2 times 3 is 1 1/2, and 1 1/2 plus 1 is 2 1/2. And how would I find my last term? 2 1/2, sorry. It would be f of 4, which would mean 1/2 times 4, which is 2, plus 1, which is 3. Now we'd have to write these in as ordered pairs. So your first ordered pair would be 1, 1 and 1/2. Your second ordered pair would be 2, 2. Your third ordered pair would be 3, 2 and 1/2. And your last ordered pair would be 4, 3. And that's how you do those two tables. You could read the scenario above, but they give us a function and we're just asked to complete the table. So f of 1, you see that they just solved at 1 and they got 6. So f of 2, we'd just be plugging in 2. So it would be 2 times 2, which is 4, plus 4, which is 8. F of 3 would just be plugging in 3. So it would be 2 times 3, which is 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. F of 4, you'd plug in 4, so it would be 2 times 4, which is 8, plus 4, which is 12. And last, f of 5, you plug in 5, which would be 2 times 5, which is 10, plus 4, which is 14. Right. How would these look like as ordered pairs? Well, the first one's already given to you, 1, 6. The second one would be 2, 8. Third one would be 3, 10. Fourth one would be 4, 12. And last would be 5, 14. And if we graph it, we have 1, 6, which is right here, because the y-axis is going up by 2's. We have 2, 8, which is right here. We have 3, 10, which is going to be right here. 4, 12. And 5, 14. This looked a little off, and I was wondering why, but that's because this graph is messed up. They're counting by 2's, so this should have been 16, not 14. It's 12, then this right here is 14, and then that right here is 16. So that is that. Number 5, we're not given a function or a rule. We're just given a table, and we're asked to complete the sequence. So first, I would kind of try to figure out, well, what's our pattern? What are we going up by? And it looks like we're going up by 10s every time, right? So at the second position, we'd have a term of 20, right? Going up by 10s each time. At the fourth position, we'd have a term of 40. So what would your domain be? Your domain would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And what would your range be? Your range would be 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. Find the first 4 terms of each sequence. Okay? So it's not saying to find the 4th term. It's saying to find the first 4 terms. So even though this is an explicit rule here, you're actually going to have to find f of 1, f of 2, f of 3, f of 4, because it's asking for the first 4 terms. So how would you find f of 1? You plug in 1. Be 3 times 1 minus 1, which is 2. How would you find f of 2? This is explicit, so you plug in 2. Recursives are the ones that we have to worry about previous term. With explicit, we don't have to worry about previous term. 3 times 2 is 6, and 6 minus 1 is 5. How would you find f of 3? Plug in 3. 3 times 3 is 9, 9 minus 1 is 8. How would you find f of 4? Plug in 4. 3 times 4 is 12, 12 minus 1 is 11. And that's it, that's our first 4 terms. Let's go right to number 7. So number 7 is also explicit. You'll be able to use your calculator if you need it on your test tomorrow. So we're finding our first 4 terms. F of 1 is going to be, we had to plug in 1 anywhere we see an n. So it would be 1 squared plus 2 times, there's another n, so we have to plug in 1, plus 5. Well, 1 squared is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. So 1 plus 2 is 3, and 3 plus 5 is 8. F of 2 would be 2 squared plus 2 times 2, because anywhere I see an n, I need to plug in a 2 plus 5. Okay, 2 squared is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. Right? 4 plus 4 plus 5, which is going to be 4 plus 4 is 8, and 8 plus 5 is 13. F of 3 would be 3 squared, which is 9, plus 2 times 3, which is 6, plus 5. Okay, so 3 squared is 9, plus 6, plus 5. Well, 9 plus 6 is 15, and 15 plus 5 is 20. And last, F4. F of 4 is going to be 4 squared, which is 16, plus 2 times 4, which is 8, plus 5. So it's going to be, I'm doing it in blue, 16 plus 8 plus 5. Well, 16 plus 8 is 24, and 24 plus 5 is 29. That's it. Now we're getting into the recursives. So recursives, remember, build on your previous term. So we need our previous term, and we need our first term. We're given our first term. Our first term is 35. And our recursive rule is previous term, remember this means previous term, minus 2. So if we're looking for f of 2, it would be previous term, which is 35, minus 2. 35 minus 2 is 33. If we're looking for f of 3, it would be previous term, which was 33, minus 2, which is 31. If we're looking for f of 4, it would be previous term, which is 31, minus 2, which is 29. And we only need the first 4 terms. So that's it. We're done. Let's go on to the next one, which is also a recursive. So again, we're given our first term. So if we're looking for f of 2, remember f of n minus 1 means previous term. So we're going to begin the square root of 65,536, which, put that in your calculator, you get 256. F of 3, f of 3 would be the square root of our previous term, which is 256. And if you do that, you get 16. And f of 4 would be the square root of our previous term, which the square root of 16 is 4. Find the 10th term of the sequence. So this is not recursive. It might look a little bit like recursive because you have this n minus 1. But remember, recursive is going to have f of n minus 1. That is what means previous term. If it's just n minus 1, then we're just subtracting 1 from our position value. Okay, So this is actually going to be explicit. And when it's explicit, if you want to find the 10th term, all you need to do is plug in 10. So that's going to be 1/2 times 10 minus 1 plus 11. Okay? Well, 10 minus 1 is 9, and 9 times 1/2 is 4.5. 4.5 plus 11 is 15.5. So what would the 10th term be? 15.5. That's explicit. Explicit, you're just going to need to plug in. Unfortunately, the next one is not explicit, it's recursive. So because it's recursive, if we want to find the 10th term, we're going to have to find all the previous terms as well. So we have f of 1. F of 1 is 2. How would we find f of 2? F of 2? Well, remember, this means previous term, so we'd be subtracting our previous term by 6. 2 minus 6, which is -4. How would we find f of 3? Previous term minus 6, which is -10. How would we find f of 4? Previous term minus 6, which is -16. How would we find f of 5? Previous term minus 6, which is -22. How would we find our next term? F of 6 will be previous term minus 6, which is -28. How would we find f of 7? It would be previous term, -28, minus 6, which is -34. How do I find f of 8? It would be my previous term, which is -34, minus 6, which is -40. How would we find f of 9? It would be my previous term, which is -40, minus 6, which is -46. And last, 10th term, how would I find my 10th term? It would be your previous term, which is -46, minus 6, which is -52. And that would be the 10th term of this recursive sequence. Okay, so also make sure you know how to solve problems when you're given the term and asked for the position. It's what we did today. So make sure you know how to solve those type of problems because those you'll also see on tomorrow's test. All right, so that is it for the study guide video. I will see you tomorrow. Good luck on your tests.